Let's go Chiefs fans. Could Jalen Watson really be on the move? That's the big question swirling around Kansas City right now. And not just because some analysts are speculating. This comes from Pro Football Focus, who recently named Watson the top player on the Chiefs trading block. That's right, one of the key pieces in the Chiefs secondary could be released sooner rather than later. But does this actually make sense for Kansas City? Or is it just another case of the media stirring the pot for clicks? Let's break it down. But before we go any further, hit that like button if you've been a Chiefs fan for 20 plus years. This is great for fans of all ages. There are people here who played in the first game. If you can, comment like this: let's go, Chiefs. Let's go to the Super Bowl. Okay, let's get right to it. The Chiefs have built their dynasty on a solid foundation by keeping their core intact, especially on defense. But this offseason has been anything but predictable. The signing of Christian Fulton added depth at the cornerback position, but did it also create a situation where Watson is now expendable? It's a fair question. After all, Watson's 2024 season was cut short by a brutal broken leg injury, limiting his impact. But before that, he was a legitimate playmaker, sporting a strong 71.6 PFF coverage grade. And here's where things get really interesting. The Chiefs already have depth at cornerback. Young players like Jamari Connor, a more natural slot option, Joshua Williams, and Nazeed Johnson are all in the mix. And get this, Watson, Williams, and Johnson are all set to become free agents in 2026. So if the Chiefs were looking to offload one of them, Watson's value as a trade asset might make him the logical choice. But then again, does that really make sense for Kansas City? Remember last season? When Watson went down, the Chiefs' cornerback room was in shambles. They were scrambling to find a solution, desperately hoping Watson would return in time for the postseason. And when he did, his presence made an immediate difference. So why, after witnessing firsthand what life is like without Watson, would Kansas City even entertain the idea of trading him? Unless, of course, it's a financial decision. That's where things get tricky. Trent McDuffie is undeniably the priority in the Chiefs' secondary. The All-Pro corner is due for a massive payday, and Kansas City simply cannot afford to let him walk. That much is clear. But if keeping McDuffie means making sacrifices elsewhere, then Watson's future suddenly becomes a question mark. Can the Chiefs afford to pay both McDuffie and Watson? And even if they can, is that the best use of their cap space? It's a tough call. Because if the Chiefs decide to trade Watson now, they might get a fourth-round pick in return. Maybe not a huge haul, but it's something. The risk? If Watson stays and has a breakout season, his price tag could skyrocket next offseason, making it even harder to keep him. On the flip side, if he struggles with injuries again, his trade value could plummet. So what's the right move? Should the Chiefs extend Watson now, locking him in before his price rises? Or should they wait, see how the season plays out, and reassess later? It's a gamble either way. And let's not forget, if Watson is traded, where does he end up? A few potential landing spots come to mind. The Carolina Panthers had the worst defense in the NFL last season and desperately need help in their secondary. The Green Bay Packers, still looking for a replacement for Jaire Alexander, could use a solid corner like Watson. And then there's the New Orleans Saints, which has become somewhat of a retirement home for former Chiefs defensive backs. But here's my take. I don't think the Chiefs should trade Jalen Watson. And frankly, I don't think they will. Moving Watson now would create the exact depth issue Kansas City spent this offseason trying to fix. It just doesn't add up. So what do you think? Should the Chiefs trade Watson while they still can, or would that be a massive mistake? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's get this conversation going. And here's the thing, if the Chiefs were serious about moving Jalen Watson, wouldn't we have heard more buzz by now? Teams aren't shy when it comes to sniffing around for available talent, and if Watson were truly on the trade block, there would be smoke. But so far, nothing concrete. Just speculation. That tells me this might be more of a hypothetical scenario rather than something actively in the works. But let's entertain the idea for a second. What if the Chiefs actually pulled the trigger on a Watson trade? What would that mean for the secondary? The depth chart would immediately feel thinner, and while the addition of Christian Fulton provides some insurance, it's not like Fulton has been a model of consistency himself. Injuries have plagued him, and he's never quite lived up to the hype. So relying on him to step in and replace Watson? That's a serious gamble. And let's talk about Watson's actual value to this defense. He's not a flashy, highlight reel cornerback who racks up interceptions left and right. But what he does provide is stability. He's a physical corner, plays with great instincts, and more importantly, he's battle-tested. This is a guy who's played in 2 Super Bowls already. He knows what it takes to step up in the biggest moments. That experience is something you can't just replace with a mid-round draft pick or a free agency signing. Look at the numbers. When Watson was on the field, opposing quarterbacks had a 73.3 passer rating when targeting him. That's solid. But when he was out, and the Chiefs were forced to rely on Joshua Williams and Nazeeh Johnson, that number skyrocketed past 100. That alone should tell you how valuable he is to this defense. So, let's be real, unless Kansas City is getting a can't-miss offer, trading Watson would feel like taking 1 step forward and 2 steps back. You solved the depth issue at cornerback this offseason, so why create another hole by shipping out a proven player? But the money question still looms. The Chiefs have some major contract decisions to make in the next year. Trent McDuffie is the priority, no doubt about it. That deal is coming, it's just a matter of when. But after that, the Chiefs have to decide whether they can afford to keep Watson in the long term. And this is where the debate gets interesting. If the Chiefs keep Watson for 2025 and he balls out, his price tag is going to jump. If they try to extend him now, they might be able to lock him in at a more reasonable number. But what if they roll the dice, wait it out, and then find themselves in a situation where they can't afford to pay him next year? That's how you lose a key player for nothing. That's the tough balance the Chiefs have to strike. Do they pay him now, hoping to get ahead of the market? Or do they let the season play out and risk either losing him for nothing or having to pay him significantly more later? There's also another layer to this. Watson is still recovering from his broken leg. What if he's not quite the same player when he returns? If the Chiefs were going to trade him, now might be the best time to do it before his value potentially takes a hit. But that's a risky assumption to make. Because if Watson comes back strong, he could be even more valuable to Kansas City's Super Bowl run this year. And don't forget, there's also the possibility that Watson simply wants to stay in Kansas City. This is a guy who has been part of a winning culture from day one. He's played a key role in 2 Super Bowl winning seasons. He might be willing to take a team-friendly deal just to stick around and continue competing for championships. At the end of the day, the Chiefs have a decision to make. Move on from Watson now and get something in return? Or keep him, knowing that his value to this defense might outweigh any potential trade package they could get? So, Chiefs Kingdom, let's hear it. Would you trade Jaylen Watson right now if you were Brett Veach? Or do you think keeping him is the smarter move for the team's future? Let us know in the comments, because this debate isn't going away anytime soon.